So we're going to kick this project off by starting with 3 2x4x8. Now I'm using pressure treated lumber because this may sit outside of my truck whenever I'm not using it. But follow along and you'll kind of see what the goal of all this is. Alright, so the first cut we're going to make is going to be 4 feet. Okay, so the next cut we're making is 44 3/4. Okay, so now I have a 4-foot section, or 48 inches, and I have a 44 3/4 inch section right here. Okay, so next I'm going to cut 2 3-foot sections, or 36-inch sections, from one of the 2x4s. So far I've only used one 2x4 for the 4-foot and the 44 3/4 inch section. Now I'm going to use the second 2x4 for 2 36-inch cuts. So now I have 2 3-foots, one 48 or one 4-foot section, and one 44 3/4 inch section. Okay, so with this second piece of lumber, I'm going to cut it in half. So it's 24 inches or 2 feet left. I'm simply going to cut it right at the 12-inch mark. Okay, so I have 2 3-foot sections, one 4-foot section, a 44 3/4 inch section, and 2 12-inch sections. Okay, with the final piece, I'm going to cut 2 28-inch sections. Okay, so I have 2 28-inch sections, 2 36-inch sections, 2 1-foot sections or 12 inches, one 48-inch section, and one 44 3/4 inch section. Alright, next I'm going to cut 2 more 12-inch sections or 1-foot sections out of the final piece of remaining lumber. Okay, so that'll make up all the lumber you use. So first of all, 44 3/4 inch section, 48 inch section, 4 12-inch sections, 2 3-foot sections, and 2 28-inch sections. You don't have to use pressure-treated lumber if you're going to store it inside of a garage, but if you might leave it outside or if it could get exposed to the rain, I just recommend using it. The only downside to it really is that it's significantly heavier because it's pressure-treated. If I had gone with a lighter lumber, it definitely would have been far lighter. Now, I don't have to use 2x lumber. I could probably have gotten away with using 1x4s and using a different type of wood like maybe poplar, but this is probably going to last a lot longer. I don't really need to treat it with anything, and I can keep it outside. Next, you're going to take your 2 3-foot sections and you're going to measure halfway, so you're going to measure 1.5 feet in and draw a line. Okay, so with our 2 28-inch strips, we're going to cut those down to 12 1/4 inches. Okay, so I have these 2 hinges right here. Unfortunately, Lowe's only had one of their heavier duty hinges, so I'm going to have to make a trip back when they restock. So I got one of their cheaper ones too. I'm going to lay them on the 2 boards that we just cut. You're going to put them so they're the long ways up. Make sure that these are laying flat like that. And then I'm going to drill these into the boards. I'm using 1 1/4 long truss Phillips self-piercing screws. And they have kind of a pan head to them, which just gives you a little bit more support. So there's one. This is probably the point that I've lost most people. And I'm just doing this really in a simplistic way because I know a lot of people don't have access to a ton of power tools, and I think most people have access to at least some basic tools to make the cuts and to drill these in. And I've never built this before, so this is kind of a test for me too. Definitely a prototype unit. You can definitely tell the quality difference between the heavy duty and the light duty one. That's the light duty, it kind of wobbles, but still does what it needs to do. Okay, Now, you're going to flip these over onto the other side. Okay, so I have these safety hasps that I purchased from Lowe's as well, and I'm going to put them on the opposite side. So the first thing I need to do is put something under this board here so it stays closed. Okay, and to do that, I'm simply using a piece of scrap wood. I've positioned my hasp right where it needs to be, so the hinge is right here where the crease is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull this hasp as far back in there as possible, right to here, to where this still opens smoothly. So I pulled back. I'm going to leave these a little loose until I position it exactly where I want. Perfect. I can still pull it out, but it's a little bit tight in there, which is what I want. You can see that this wood isn't perfect, but for what I'm using it for, it'll be just fine. And this will work perfect for what I need. Same thing on this side. I'm going to pull the hasp back. Okay, so we're going to take one of our sections right here. Remember what side the hasp is facing. So this one's facing to my right. I'm going to line up this line as best possible here. And I'm going to connect it here at the bottom. So on this side, you'll notice the hasp is now facing to my left. We're going to attach that one down here as well. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to take our 44 3/4 inch section and we're going to put it right on the inside of these two outer arms that we installed. Now we're going to take our 4-foot section and attach it to the very top. And I've drilled them in far enough to kind of countersink them slightly, so nothing's going to rub across the top. Okay, so next we're going to take all 4 of our 12-inch sections and we're going to 45-degree notch them at the end here. So I'm just going to make the laser line up right with the corner here. This does not have to be perfect. Just like that. And I'm going to reverse it so the angle is sloping outward. That way I get the inner cut I'm looking for. That's how you want all 4 of them to look when you're done. There we go. So we're simply going to corner them like this all the way around. Okay, so there you have it. This is the completed bike rack, and this goes in the back of my pickup truck, hopefully. So basically what I designed here was a tailgate for inside of the truck, because the pad that I have that goes over the tailgate to hold the bikes, it doesn't allow me to put my bed cover on whenever we are biking, unless I take the entire pad off and then I got to reattach it. But if I attach the pad to this, it's going to give me the ability to use the pad along with the bikes in the back of the truck. And you might be wondering why I put these hasps here. It's probably obvious by now. Simply flip these up and it folds down inside of the bed of the truck, so I can put the bed cover over it, and I can use this or keep it in the back of the truck without obscuring or blocking too much of my bed. So that is the reason why I designed it this way. And whenever we get back from the trail, we simply flip it up, lock the hasps, and it's not going anywhere. Now, something else that's cool about this is I can take a padlock and a cable, and I can run a padlock right here with the cable, and I can feed it through the frames of the bike. So if somebody sees this in a parking lot, they're not just going to walk off with the entire assembly, because this thing right here probably weighs 60 pounds. And it's going to secure the bikes to it. So unless somebody tries to take all the bikes that are attached to it plus the frame itself, they really won't be able to. This is just a cool setup. It keeps everything inside of the bed so I can keep the tailgate shut. But let's see if it works, because I think that's the single most important thing. The one thing I may need to add is another piece of lumber across the center right here, so when I use the tailgate pad, I have a place to strap it around. But I don't even know if I'll need to strap the tailgate pad to this. I might just be able to attach it to it and tie it down to these corner braces. But we'll find out. So check that out. Got all 4 bikes loaded up on here. These are the bikes that we take out the most, and they all fit really well. So the only measurement I really need to take is the measurement from here to the front, and then also from the front all the way to the back, just to make sure that in this configuration they'll actually fit in the bed of the truck, considering I have a toolbox in the bed. Now, if you have a short bed truck, this might pose an issue, but once we get in the truck, we'll be able to take some measurements and see what it looks like. Let's go ahead and throw it in the back of the truck and see how it looks. And one final thing from a construction perspective, I had to add this 1x6 decking plank across the front. Without that there, the tires wanted to come back in because, you know, the back of your tailgate essentially acts as a wall to keep the tire shifted to the side, and I had to put that there. So I had an extra piece of decking plank laying around, so add that to your build list. You probably only need a 6-foot section of it, and then just cut it to 4 feet and drill it to the front right above your hinges. But we're going to install this in the truck, see how it looks. Okay, so we have it in place. It doesn't look too bad actually for what it's going to be doing, and I'm going to attempt to put the cover on top of it. But we'll see how this works. I have it spaced off the tailgate quite a bit. The thing is pretty heavy and it's pretty sturdy, so I don't necessarily think I have to worry about it tipping over or doing anything, especially once the bikes are on it. But we're going to load some bikes on this and see how it works. Okay, so we got all the bikes loaded in the back. Coming down the side, I actually thought it would take up a little bit more room than it does, which is nice. Let's see if we can close everything up. No problem, huh? Oh yeah. Everything is resting well. This thing is super sturdy too. It doesn't move at all. And I have 4 bikes loaded in the bed of the truck without having to remove the front wheel assembly, without having to clamp it down into place. And if I wanted to lock this in place, check this out. I have access to the hasp right here. You can probably see it back there. I can run a cable from that side with the padlock through the frames and connect it to the hasp on the other side, and these will be attached to this wooden frame. There is no simple way of removing it at that point, especially if your tailgate is up and locked. But this worked out really well. Pretty heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
I'm guessing it probably weighs, what do you think, 50 pounds?
About.
Maybe a little less than that, actually. I thought it was more. You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's relatively heavy. It is essentially 3 pieces of 2x4 by 8, minus a couple sections, and then a small piece of incredibly old and dried decking plank. But the cool thing about it is, even though it's heavy, and some people are going to say you can get this carrier or that carrier or whatever one they prefer, one that plugs into the receiver, it's more protected in the bed of the truck. And the nice thing about this is, once we pull all the fully assembled bikes down, that's the key here. If we park in a parking lot, I really don't have to worry about somebody coming and snatching a bike. But also the fact that with the tailgate closed, everything is sealed in the bed, so if somebody rear ends your vehicle, they're less likely to do damage to your bikes versus something hanging off the hitch. And more importantly, whenever we're out on the trail, I can close that up, roll the top over it, and you won't even see it. But let's try that. So we're going to unload the bikes now, and we're going to see how this thing looks once we flip it down out of the way, and we're going to close the top up. Okay, so we have the bikes out of the back now. We're going to see how this thing works. Okay, so now that the bikes are off of it, Brian, you want to flip that side up? Okay, no, don't just push it down. We got to kind of lower it or it's going to fall a little bit like this, then you can let go. There we go. And if I didn't have that toolbox there, I'd just let the thing swing down. Okay, so I have it down. You can see that it definitely clears the bed rails on both sides, which means I can simply cover this up. So with the cover over the bed, I won't be able to do that. But what's also nice about this is I can attach that cover to the top of this bike carrier, and I can put the bikes on it so it also protects the frame. But because this is lumber, you really don't have to worry about it. I know it's kind of heavy, but it's definitely one of those things that you can leave in your truck if you plan on going biking quite a bit. You could slide it all the way to the front of your truck if you didn't have a toolbox like I do, the plastic one right here that sticks out, and you'd still be able to keep like a 5th wheel hitch and other things like that in the bed of your truck if you needed to. It still gives you a good amount of bed, so you're not taking it all up. And it's very, very easy to make. That's probably the key, is even though it's relatively heavy and it takes up a bit of room, it definitely is something almost anybody could construct in their garage. And you might be able to come up with a better design for it than what I did, or use lighter lumber. If you use 1x6, it would probably still be plenty strong, especially if you brace it and reinforce it, but it would give you a ton of flexibility. If you're a welder and you could weld something, especially out of aluminum, it would definitely give you some more flexibility. But overall, this was a really easy project. It didn't take much more than maybe an hour and a half total, and it is functional. It works. It's able to hold the bikes. It can hold 4 bikes. We probably could have almost fit a 5th bike on here if we wanted to, but 4 is probably the practical number to throw on it. Again, you can use the hasps right here with a cable, run it through the frames, and it's going to secure the bikes to it, so you don't have to worry about theft if you're in a parking lot, if you're maybe going out to a biking trail and there's a restaurant nearby that you want to eat when you're done, and you don't want to have to worry about someone snatching your bikes or pulling them out of the receiver or trying to take them off of your bike rack. It's just a very, very convenient way of carrying your bikes around. You don't have to worry about the bikes being on the outside of the truck as well, which is also really nice. Again, all I essentially did was built a tailgate inside of the truck so I could hang the front wheel over it just like you would over the back of your tailgate. And I can still use my cover to put over the back of this to protect it if I want to. But again, because it's relatively soft lumber, it's very unlikely that this would damage the frame. Anyways, guys, we're going to quickly try to throw the Thule cover over this, and we're going to see if it fits, and then we'll wrap the video up. So check that out. Fit perfectly on here. You can rotate it up a little bit. I have 2 of the straps going on the inside of these uprights all the way through. It's secured real well. I could throw the bikes on here. Let's drop it down real quick and see what it looks like if you take the bikes off and you want to throw this back to secure it. And that's what it looks like dropped back. It is still probably 2 inches underneath the bed rails, so you don't have to worry at all about the potential of hitting it with your bed cover. They're protected and you're in good shape. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this was really simple to make. If you have a tailgate cover like the Thule one that I have, it works really well with it, and you can simply throw your bikes on top of that, offer a bit more protection, which is what I'm going to do, and it gives you the ability to carry your bikes around in a very economical fashion. Again, this is something you can build if you live in an RV park and you got a pickup truck and you have a Lowe's nearby, and you simply can grab a couple pieces of lumber, or 3 pieces of lumber, 4 if you want to include the small piece of decking plank, or just an extra long 2x4, but I would definitely go with something a little bit thinner, so like a 1x6 would probably work better. If you want to do it out of non-pressure treated lumber, if you plan on keeping it in the back of your truck or in the back of a toy hauler, it's also a really good way to actually carry your bikes in the back of a toy hauler. You could throw this in the garage area and you'd be perfectly fine to drive down the road with this. Just secure this to the floor, put your bikes over the front of it, and they'd be locked in place. It's just a very, very easy to make solution. So overall price, this cost me $55 total. Lumber, screws, the actual hinges, the hasps, everything. $55. The only thing I had was, of course, the power tools to assemble it and the toolie cover that I put on top of it. Aside from that, everything else was under 60 bucks. Again, guys, this is just something really cool, really simple to make. If you're into biking, you could haul 4 bikes on this practically. If you want to make a longer version of this, which is very simple, you could haul probably up to 8 or 9 bikes if you made it much wider, if you wanted to put it in the back of a trailer or a toy hauler. And it's something that's removable. You don't have to bolt it in place because it's sure as heck heavy enough. You have a way of securing your bikes to it. It is definitely going to help prevent theft. It can definitely help secure the bikes in the bed of the truck when you're driving, and it just gives you a really great bike carrying solution. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.